Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Philbert D, and I've been doing this for like a year now. I've accomplished so much. This is Phil on Films. This week, reviews of Hindi Tayo Pwede, Onward, and Guns Akimbo. Gabby, played by Lovie Poe, was once engaged to Gabriel, played by Tony Labrusca. But he died tragically in a car accident. But Gabriel has not left their home. He continues to appear to her, a ghost that only she can see and hear and touch. She continues to live a facsimile of their coupled life and finds herself unable to move on to new things. When her best friend Dennis, played by Marco Gumabao, confesses his feelings to her, the two are forced into making some tough choices. This is a very silly movie. What it does is literalize the inability of people to move on from past relationships. It presents this scenario where the lost, deceased lover is a tangible being, at least for the person who can't forget. Now, I guess conceptually, there's something to explore there. There's certainly something intriguing about having not really lost someone, about being able to still participate in a relationship even if no one else can acknowledge it. But the film largely treats it as though it was just a normal relationship. There are some nods, of course, to him being a ghost. But so much of this movie is about them bickering about things as if they were just any other normal couple. So much of the movie is about Gabriel being jealous, which is really strange given his situation. The film ends up making its main character feel really passive, just waiting for her ghost ex to give her permission to move on. So yeah, it gets silly, but it's all played as a serious drama. And it's all delivered in a subpar technical package with sloppy dubbing, the occasional out-of-focus shot, and music that would feel right at home in your typical episode of MMK. In general, the film just really sloppy in the details. It feels like they didn't even make a decision of whether or not the ghost could open doors. The three leads look pretty bewildered throughout the whole thing, like they don't know what they're supposed to be feeling in any given scene. And having seen the whole thing, I can't really blame them. 1 star.
Dad?
There's no top part! Dad, you are in your house! Oh boy! We've only got 24 hours to bring back the rest of Dad. We're going on a quest!
Onward takes place in a fantasy world of fairies and magic. But technology has long taken over, and the elves and centaurs of this world are living very modern lives devoid of all the old trappings of quests and magic. Ian Lightfoot, voiced by Tom Holland, has just turned 16. His dad died while his mom was pregnant with him, and he's always deeply felt that absence. It turns out, though, that his dad left him a magical staff and instructions for a spell that will bring him back for just a day. The spell doesn't go exactly right, and Ian and his older brother must go on a classic quest to complete the magic spell. If you're into magical fantasy, then you're going to find a lot to enjoy here. A lot of this film is just playing around with the tropes of the genre, with specific nods to the structure of the fantasy quest or maybe like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. But because this is Pixar, that's just the surface of it. Like every other Pixar movie, this film is specifically designed to tug at the heartstrings and leave you a sobbing mess at some point. The script actually teeters on being a little schematic. It telegraphs its punches a bit too much, the emotional beats of the story offering little in the way of surprise. But the movie gains something in the staging. The film makes all of these unusual visual choices that heighten the content. There's always just a little extra bit of craft that makes all of these beats hit a little harder. To be honest, this probably won't go down as one of Pixar's best. There are points where you feel like the movie's just trying to fill out the formula. But you know what? Second-rate Pixar is still first-rate everything else. As a fan of fantasy, I personally thought this was a lot of fun. As a human being with emotions, as someone who still has the capacity to feel things, this movie really did a lot of things for me. Now I can see the frayed edges, but this is still a really nice blanket to be wrapped up in. 4.5 stars.
Someone's trying to kill me! Please, go drive now! I'm Miles, and this is the story of the worst day of my life.
Daniel Radcliffe is Miles, a guy who doesn't have much of a life outside of the internet. He spends a lot of his time online, often policing the sites he's on by replying to and reporting internet posters that he finds crude or offensive. One night, he goes off on the viewers of Schism, an underground site that pits real humans against each other in streaming death matches. Miles is visited by the people running the site, and he wakes up with guns bolted onto his hands. He's told that he's now part of the game, and he's going up against the site's top killer. The first thing you should know if you're interested in seeing this film in cinemas is that the local version has been cut to achieve its rating. Now, the cuts are pretty noticeable. There are just a couple of scenes where the film just jumps ahead a couple of seconds. It all seems pretty inane and arbitrary, to be honest, given what still makes it into the movie. It's still a pretty violent movie. But there you go, be warned. It's hardly the cuts that are the problem with this movie though. It's a film that outwardly rails against this perceived thirst for violence among people, while very much indulging in the very same kind of violence. As a piece of satire, it's pretty toothless. It contrives this extreme version of internet voyeurism that does little to reflect real-life issues surrounding current online consumption. And it might seem a little strange to say this about a film about a dude that gets guns bolted onto his hands, but the movie doesn't do enough work to make it all make sense, particularly in the treatment of schism. Schism here is presented as something that's both underground and easily accessible. Everybody can watch it, but nobody seems to do anything about it. Apart from Miles, everybody just seems to accept its existence. And in the real world, if you've spent any substantial time on the internet, then the one thing you know is that there's very little that we all agree on. 1.5 stars. Questions!
Answers.
Ace Antipolo and Elora Espano both asked me about the Metro Manila Summer Film Festival, basically what I think about it. I think we shouldn't have a Metro Manila Summer Film Festival. I'm happy for the films that got in. I'm happy they have a chance to make money, I guess. I hope they make money. Historically, historically it's a system set up so that a few films make a lot of money and then other films fail miserably. And that's not a good thing. There are many fixes to the Metro Manila Film Fest that needed to be made before they decided to make a second edition. Good luck to all the filmmakers though. I am batshit crazy asks, music, docu, recommendations please. 3 things. Stop Making Sense, that's The Talking Heads by Jonathan Demme. The Last Waltz by Martin Scorsese, that's about the band. And the Eagles documentary, The History of the Eagles by Alex Gibney. Those are all good, those are all fun. The first 2 are concert films, the third one it's about the Eagles. It's amazing. Trixie Dawes asks, may nagustuhan ka ba na bang Joel Lamangan film? I guess it's being asked because at some point I tweeted in the last week that I think Joel Lamangan now is greater than Brillante Mendoza. That has very little to do with the movies. But there is a Joel Lamangan film that I actually like. It's called His from 2013. Also a Ricky Lee collaboration. It's about NPA dudes. They're married and they have separate relationships, but they're also kind of in love with each other. Magnolia Gladiola Gumamela asks, is there a beginner's guide to film criticism that you can recommend or any tips you have? No, I don't have a beginner's guide. The only tip I have is learn to write. Good criticism is just good writing. And learning to write is really just about finding your voice. Find your voice. Here's an exercise I do. I've told many people to do. Just to find your voice, you need to get outside of the writing. You need to get outside of this struggle with coming up with your own thoughts. So take a piece you already like, and then rewrite it until it sounds like you, until you think it sounds like you. It's
technically plagiarism,
I guess, but it's actually a good way to find your voice. Carl from Twitter asks, with the winning of Korea's Parasite and the Academy Awards this year, what other brilliant Asian films would you recommend to people to watch? There are so many. Yeah, there's Filipino film on its own has 100 years of cinema, and there's too much to see. But if you're talking Korean films specifically, I like the films of Na Hong Jin a lot. The Chaser and I forget the second film, and then the one with the shaman. Look him up, Na Hong Jin. Burning from last year was really good. Japanese film, Sean Sono's my favorite, one of my favorite filmmakers. Films of Takashi Miike, the films of Johnny To. Man, just here's what you need to do. You don't need recommendations. Just be open to the fact that Asian films are really good and watch Asian films. I think that's the issue with most people. They don't think Asian films are very good. Asian films are very good. So, thanks for joining us. We're just going back into our regular schedule after all the craziness of the last month. Hopefully, we'll be churning them out until the MMFF, where I probably won't watch MMFF films again because I'm so tired. So tired of it all. So anyway, leave a comment, like and subscribe, do all the internet things. And until next time, goodbye, internet. Late stage capitalism is very bad, and we really need to analyze the situation of people who are driven into desperate situations. It's a lot.